Welcome to Creatrix Convergence 2022. Repower yourself, your sisters, your world. In this online global event, our focus is on the evolutionary consciousness of the divine feminine and how the rise of this energy on the planet will radically transform the lives of women and girls. To usher in this momentous era, we're featuring extraordinary women sharing their powerful essence and unique contributions to compassionately heal humanity and the planet. We're your hosts. I'm Liz Williams, here with my co-host Sheila Cash, and today we are thrilled to be with our summit coach and amazing friend, Jocelyn Starfeather. Welcome, Jocelyn.
Hi, Liz and Sheila. I am so thrilled to be with you today. Thank you for letting me be a part of this.
We're so happy to have you, Jocelyn, and I'd like to let our listeners know a little bit more about you. So Jocelyn Starfeather is a visibility and thought leadership coach for visionary entrepreneurs. She's also a spiritual alchemist, an astrologer, and the founder of Sacred Planet. She shares shamanic and ancient wisdom to guide courageous seekers in co-creating a revolutionary new world in alignment with Mother Earth and the vast intelligence of the cosmos. After a successful 15-year corporate career working in finance for major multinational companies, Jocelyn was thrust into a deep spiritual awakening. And it was that awakening that turned her life upside down, and from which she emerged with a powerful understanding of how to use her intuition and her healing abilities, aspects of herself that she had never had access to before. She dove deeply into earth-based and shamanic practices, and she studied alongside elders and wisdom keepers ever since. She has extensively studied ancient civilizations, especially cultures where the goddess held a strong presence. And she has spent profound and life-changing times in the ancient temples and pyramids of Egypt. Jocelyn now guides visionary entrepreneurs, revolutionaries, and change makers all around the world. Her mission is to help people break free from everything that's held them back so they can joyfully offer their highest contribution to our collective future. And you can learn more about Jocelyn's work on her website, wearesacredplanet.com, and her YouTube channel, youtube.com/sacredplanet. Again, welcome, Jocelyn.
Thank you so much for that beautiful introduction, Sheila. And yes, so glad to be here with you both.
So yes, Sheila touched on so much of kind of the journey that you've been on, but we would love to hear the journey from you because it's very, very powerful, and particularly the journey of awakening, but also how this feminine principle was revealed to you.
Absolutely. I would love to share about that. So it was a very interesting journey for me because I did everything that everybody told me to do, which was I went to school, I got my bachelor's degree, I got my master's degree, I got a job in finance, right? I was moving along, and I found myself in a very extremely masculine world because I worked in the auto industry. I worked for Mercedes-Benz at their headquarters. And so I was kind of a liaison between the finance arm and the manufacturing arm. And I was going to dealerships and meeting with these very wealthy, very masculine characters, very successful. And it was interesting because I was thriving in that world as far as I knew at the time. And I was climbing these corporate ladders, And when my first daughter was born, Sophia is her name. When she was born in 2010, all of a sudden, it was like everything crumbled. And very, very fascinating for me because I thought everything was going great, and then I had this incredibly feminine, like life force experience of giving birth. And then I'm here. I remember when she was 3 or 4 days old, I was holding her in my arms and just sitting there and looking down at her beautiful little face and thinking, oh my gosh, everything I've been doing has been not aligned with my soul and not aligned with the future that I want to create for this little tiny one. And I didn't know what to do, right? I didn't know what to do next or how to handle this. I went into really a deep, dark night of the soul. And this was the beginning of the feminine coming in, because the feminine absolutely includes the darkness. That is the womb space. That is the black holes. These are the places from which all new things can be birthed, the darkest places. And so I had to go into that. And it was completely at odds with everything I had experienced in my adult life, up until that point. And so what started happening was that these very sacred feminine experiences, I can see looking back on it now. For example, the trees started speaking to me. And this was completely outside of my realm of, possibility. But I remember being in the kitchen and I was packing my lunch to go to work and her little lunch to go to daycare. And maybe when she was like a year old or something like that. And I was back to work and I would look out the window in the kitchen and I would look up at these trees, and there were these extremely tall, they left the old growth trees in when they had built that house. And so I would look out and look up and I would see these trees and they were talking to me and they were saying, don't go and sit under those fluorescent lights and stare at Excel spreadsheets all day. Come out here and stay with us. Come out here into this beautiful world that's right outside your door. And I was like, whoa, what is this? What does this mean? What am I supposed? And again, it's like, what am I supposed to do with this information? Because I still had to go to work that day, obviously. So gradually these things kept breaking through to me more and more. And at one point I read many, many books on all different spiritual traditions because I thought, wow, the answer's got to be here somewhere. And what really stood out to me was indigenous wisdom and ancient wisdom. At that time, it was particularly North American indigenous wisdom. And I started doing a regular practice where I would listen to a drum beat and drop into a meditative space, a shamanic journeying space. And I started having this mountain that would appear to me. So every time that I went into this meditation, my guide, who was a white horse, would take me to the same place. And I would be standing in this open space with a pine forest behind me. I had just walked out of a pine forest always in this journey. And there was a giant, magnificent snow-capped mountain in front of me and some water running in front of the mountain and some scraggly little trees. And every single time we would go to this place and my guide would just leave me there. And again, this is how the feminine operates. Okay. The feminine is very visionary and not necessarily logical or practical. And they would just leave me there. And I kind of had to surrender into this experience again and again. And my thinking mind could not make any sense of it. And I started asking, what do I do here? What are we doing? And a voice came in and said, you need to go to New Mexico. And so I, of course, synchronistically found, the chance to go to New Mexico. Very soon after that, it came through on my radar. And it was a journey to New Mexico to basically spend a week with Woman Stand Shining, Pat McCabe. It's one of my dear, dear teachers. And so I did that. And it was very hard for me because I have panic attacks on planes. Okay. And I have a fear of travel. I had to leave my little kids who were, I think, 2 and 5 at the time. And I went to New Mexico against all odds, again, very, very feminine with surrendering and surrendering into the not knowing and the mystery. And when I got there, I expected New Mexico to be like sand and cactuses. It was my typical, imagining of what the desert would look like. And so you can imagine my surprise when we came around this bend in the highway, and you come around this bend and the view of Taos opens up, and there was the mountain that had been speaking to me for months and months and months. I had been seeing this mountain. And so I just broke down in tears at that point. And I realized all of this magic that was streaming into me from the mountain, from the trees, from different experiences I had been having. And this was the feminine. This was the feminine coming in to counteract and to, counterbalance all of the masculine reality and the logical and practical and high-powered and successful, reality that I had known until that point. So I'll just say in closing on this, when I started my business, Sacred Planet, I knew that I needed to do it in a very different way than how I had been operating in corporate, right? And so have tried to build that in a really honoring way of the sacred feminine. Yes.
What an incredible story. That's really amazing. And Jocelyn, I relate so much to you with many of the things that you said, including the birth of my first baby, which was my daughter. I started to drive differently. I was driving slower. Everything changed. And I had been in business in DC and kind of pounding the pavement in DC, back in the day. Um, and as a certified tree hugger, I, completely relate to the messages from the trees. And the drum, if you listen to a drum long enough, you're going to definitely get messages as well. And so you have been, so you can see both sides of this with the masculine principle and the feminine principle. And we are entering a time where the balance between the sacred masculine and the divine feminine is bringing us into the wholeness. How do you see the feminine principle evolving in the world right now, and particularly in business, finance, and in some of those masculine sectors?
Yes, absolutely. There are so many exciting and wonderful things happening in that area. And it's not to say that all is perfect, because of course there are still, still things that women need to overcome. But I mean, how amazing is it that workplaces are opening up to this idea that when women are on their moon time, that it's acceptable to take a few days off, right? And what we find in the workplaces that are allowing this, like 3 days off around the moon time each month, is that when the women are at work, we're so much more productive. We're so much more able to be fully there and bring all of our gifts to the work, because we had those days of slowing down, which is what is called for by the body, just very naturally. We know, on those days when the bleeding begins, we do not want to get out of bed, or we do not want to have to go in and be in a masculine, kind of world. So, right, just tuning in and listening in that way. And then at these policies that are coming out that are allowing, that's really incredible. I think the UK is leading the way in that particular kind of thing, but I hear about it more and more happening in the US. So that's really, really wonderful. And, entrepreneurially, which is what I see the most of in my coaching work and in my, online work, I think it's just so amazing what's happening as far as women creating and setting their schedules in a completely new way that is honoring of their energy levels. And I don't want to exclude men in this. Like, this is really important for all of us to, shift back into these aspects of the feminine. That's really true for all humans, which is we have ups and downs in our energy levels. We have days when we feel more intuitive and emotional. And we have days when we feel more like, the go-getter and go and make everything happen. And so this is an amazing thing about being an entrepreneur, is that you do have the opportunity to honor that, to create a schedule that maybe has an A week and a B week. And the A week is when you do all, the intensive work and client sessions maybe. And then the B week, you can be doing more creative or, quiet activities, right? And so we can honor our natural needs, our energetic needs, our cyclical needs in this way too. So those are a couple examples that I see. There are a lot more examples out there for sure. I will say too, I have several of my clients at this point in time are women who have for years now been deeply, deeply tuning into their bodies, asking their bodies, what do you need? And then have taken a longer time to roll out their business because of that, because they're following this very feminine flow to doing so. But now that they are coming out with their business and sharing it with the world, they are encouraging others, men and women, to do this, to really listen to the body, to tune into movement, to not feel like you have to be perfect all the time. There's so many aspects of this as well. And creating, I think, just quite a new paradigm in business and in coaching and in what is possible and available for us.
Well, as you know, Jocelyn, I can totally relate to all of this, to everything you've said. I had a similar experience when my first child was born, after coming from a career in banking as well. And I remember being in the hospital and looking down at him and saying, this is where I was meant to be. Like for the first time in my life, I knew I was meant to be there. And so, it's so important for women to be able to honor that, to be able to say that, so somehow I need to make this work for me, for my child, for my family. And that's kind of what you're speaking to here. I know that my husband is still in the banking world. And since COVID, there is a lot of discussion about this opportunity to work from home and how are we going to make this work? And so many, as you said, not just women, but men are saying, I want that option. I want that option. And if you don't provide it, I'm leaving. And that's what they're doing. So it's really, really powerful. So I want to turn a little bit to the 7 pillars where we have focused on these anchor pillars of restoring the sacred and reconnecting to Mother Earth, which is very, very much aligned with your work. What do you believe in our human history? How have we seen, first of all, the feminine principle change, but why do we need to be going back to this restoring of the sacredness, do you believe?
Yes, this is one of my favorite topics, as you both know. So I will go ahead and share some images with everyone here, because I feel that when we really see and take in, not just on a mental, logical level, but on an imaginal level, okay, on an emotional level, on all the levels, we take in these images from who we were in ancient times. It can change us. It's truly a transmission. So as it says here, I really do believe that we need to look very far back. And the reason is that we need to look back before the major woundings occurred. So this is before there were wars, before there were people trying to own parts of the earth, right? Before there were these, we have the sacred feminine and the sacred masculine, right? In their pure original forms, both working together, okay? Both coming together for the survival of people and for the highest, life experiences. As we move forward in time, and if we have time, I'll chat about this a little bit, but we see this rise of the distorted masculine. Okay, what we call the patriarchy is not the sacred masculine. It's this distorted aspect of the masculine that both men and women have taken on in certain ways. So before all of that happened, what were we doing? This is one of my big questions that I'm always asking myself and as I do the research, right? So how did we perceive reality before the feminine was silenced and when people were intimately connected with the earth and cosmos and all of the natural elements? So if we go really far back, okay, so this is 19,000 BC, we have this incredibly voluptuous, beautiful feminine statue called the Venus of Willendorf. That's what we're calling her today in our modern times. And you can just see how she represents fertility and life and birth. And she has this beautiful cap on that. It looks like a knit cap, right? It has 7 rows. And so there are various different theories about what this means, but 7 being a very, very sacred number for the feminine. 13 is as well. We'll look at that a little later. And then on the right here from 23,000 BC, we have the Venus of Locelle. And again, such a fertile looking figure, right? In both of these, we have the full rounded belly, the full breast, there's a very pregnant look. Now the Venus of Locelle, she is holding in her hand a crescent shape. So it probably signifies the moon. It probably also was a bull horn or a sheep horn or some kind of an animal horn, right? That was representing the moon and the lunar cycles. The reason that we say it represents the moon is because it has 13 notches on it. And 13 is a very sacred number of the feminine because there are 13 moon cycles, 13, cycles from the new moon to full moon back to new, as well as 13 menstrual cycles for every woman in every year. So we see these goddess figures, these feminine figures. And so what we can take from seeing these, and we see this in different ways. These are some of the most famous ones, but there were many different goddess figures across many different cultures. And this is really celebrating the sacredness of the feminine and putting life at the center. In these ancient cultures that were that were focused around the goddess, it wasn't about masculine versus feminine and which one is more important, right? It's not anything like that. It's that we all recognize together that life is the most important thing of all. And we place that at the center and we honor that and hold it sacred. And so we, in these very ancient times, we saw the mother goddess as one with the dark mother. And this is really important, that the one who births us, and this is such a beautiful birthing hieroglyph from Kamambo Temple in Egypt, the one who births us, okay, this feminine principle who births us and who nourishes us and gives us life, she is also the same one that comforts us at the end of that life and folds us back into her womb so that we can be born once again into a new form. So this is a very different paradigm than what we think of today, right? We think of birth and death as like opposites, but really this is a continual cycle. They are one and the same, and one always leads to the next. This was deeply, deeply understood in the ancient times. I share these cave paintings because they are so feminine. I mean, these are so flowing. These are so, they make you feel a bit psychedelic just looking at them, right? They're like so much in the imaginal and the other dimensional realms, which is certainly the realm of the feminine as she brings the vision through. So I just love seeing these cave paintings, again, from tens of thousands of years ago. And the moon, the ancient people were paying very close attention to the moon. And the moon shows us, it illustrates for us every 28 days, this never-ending cycle of birth, life, death, and rebirth. And so we have at the new moon, the moon disappears. We can't see it for 3 nights. And this must have been very dramatic for the ancient people, where there were no city lights, there was no electricity. They just would have had fire, but that would be the only other light besides the stars and the sun and the moon. So on the nights when we had a crescent moon or a waxing moon or a full moon or a waning moon, the sky would be lit with the light of the moon, but those 3 nights of the new moon would be very dramatic. This was a time of darkness, okay, a time of death and folding back into the womb. And then when that crescent moon, if you've seen that very, very thin crescent moon, when it reappears just after the new moon, it's so beautiful. It's really moving. And just imagine how moving that was for the ancient people. So these cycles were truly honored in these ancient times. And again, this is just the number 13. Once again, we have 13 new moons and 13 full moons every year. Okay. So the number 13, which has been, it's been turned into Friday the 13th and like horror movies and things these days. It's crazy because this was like the demonization of this extremely sacred number that represents the goddess, the womb, and life itself. So I will show you just a few more slides. I have even more, but I know we have other things to chat about, but I'll show you just a few more. This is an extremely powerful statue. This was the fertility goddess of Çatalhöyük from ancient Turkey, and she's seated on a lion throne. Very often the goddess was associated with the lions and with the big cats because of her profound power. And so she is in a birthing pose, and she has one hand on each of these lions as she is birthing new life into the world. And again, we see the voluptuousness and just this honoring of that pregnant, fertile goddess figure. And we see a lot of big cats, in these ancient temples as associated with the goddess. These are 2 leopards that were on the north wall of the leopard shrine in this same settlement area. These are some beautiful images of different bird goddesses, winged goddesses from all different places and times. And the feminine has been associated with the birds and with flight and with, this visionary ability to go out and, experience the multidimensional realms. And it's really a shamanic ability to bring the visions back for the community. And, traditionally in ancient times, when we look at the true purpose of the sacred masculine and the sacred feminine, the feminine was meant to hold space for magic and mystery, okay, including the mysteries of birth and death, and also to bring through the visions, because that menstrual cycle time, when often the women would gather and they would all be on the same cycles of the same timing, and they would gather together for those 3 nights, often coinciding with the new moon, the dark moon, and bring through the visions, bring through the dreams that the community needed to know in order to move forward with what was coming next. And then the role of the sacred masculine is to protect the feminine, right? Holding the weapons, keeping the feminine safe, providing food for the community, and building what the feminine dreams of, right? So these are the true and ancient roles of the sacred feminine. And it's not to say that we have to follow those roles as men and women at all. That's not the intention here. We carry both within us, right? We carry the ability to vision, and we carry the ability to build that vision within every single one of us, men and women. But it's really powerful to recognize those original sacred roles. Of course, the serpent is so deeply intertwined with this feminine principle, because the serpent, among other things, represents the Kundalini life force that begins at our root chakra, begins with the earth, okay, and winds upward toward the sky. So winds upward through every chakra, rising through the chakras, and truly connects the earth up to heaven. This is a beautiful depiction of the goddess Wajet, which is a serpent cobra goddess. This is in Nefertari's tomb in Egypt. And some other beautiful serpent images here. This one is from, I believe this is from the Vinca culture. I highly recommend the book, The Myth of the Goddess by Anne Baring. She's so amazing. She's a part of your event too, I believe. And her book, The Myth of the Goddess, goes way deeply into all of this. So I highly recommend that this image is found in her book. And it is a mother holding a child and serpent shapes winding all around them. Really incredible. And these are some serpent goddesses. You can see they are in their full feminine power here, with the breasts bare, right? And holding these serpents. And she even has a lion cub on her head. These are so powerful. They're very intense. If you look at the eyes, they're really tiny. They're only about 13 inches tall, but they're very intense. So you can see this just feminine power, serpentine power represented here, and this deep, deep honoring of the mystery and magic that the feminine holds. So I'll stop there with slides. I think that gives you a great idea of what the ancient perception of the feminine is about, as far as we can tell from these historical artifacts.
Boy, that is really an incredible presentation, Jocelyn. And I know that you have spent time in person with these, with many of these, with extensive touring, and really your deep, deep study of the feminine, the ancient feminine. And it is such a gift for our listeners too, especially those from all corners of the world who may be living in cultures that are not honoring the feminine, and especially are not honoring the shape of the feminine. So this is really, really a gift for all of us on the planet. And so because there are women in many countries around the world whose feminine is not being honored, what are some steps? What can we do individually and collectively to start to heal within our feminine? And then also I'd like to ask, what is happening now, even celestially in 2022, that makes this a particularly auspicious time for this healing?
Yes. Amazing question. Yes. And there's so much, I have so much that I want to say right now. So I'm just deciding which ones to focus on. I want to say, first of all, that this event that you both have created, and the organizations and the leaders that you are bringing together here, this is creating a massive shift in everything that you just mentioned. Okay. And I just encourage everybody watching to watch every interview that you possibly can. There's going to be so much goodness and wisdom here and ways to take action. And I know that you all are, working with these organizations, and I'm sure there are, funds are going toward these organizations that are creating change in the world. So that you're doing so much here. And I just want to thank you, truly, truly thank you for what you guys are doing. So then as far as, what we can do within ourselves, I will answer this as I tie it together with the, why the time is now response as well, because those are very, very closely connected. What is happening astrologically at this time, this year, 2022, is extremely significant. And with your event here happening in July, your event is happening really at the epicenter of these astrological transits that I'm about to talk about. So that there's no mistake that you're doing this now. We are having a transit where Uranus, okay, so this is the planet of freedom, liberation, rebellion, revolution, okay, surprising things that, like if we want to do something that has not been possible before or has been blocked before, Uranus is the planet we want to turn to, because Uranus is the planet that can bring surprising events forward or help us to have breakthroughs and revelations, new ways of understanding, it's like lightning flashes of insight that we haven't been able to reach, to fully achieve before. And so this planet Uranus represents all of that I just said, is coming together with the North Node. Now, the North Node represents the collective future of humanity. So this year, and I get chills every time I talk about this year, 2022, is centered around this event, which is going to happen it will be exact from July 31st to August 10th. Okay. That will be the exact Uranus and North Node conjunction, but we're feeling it all year because these two, the Uranus and the North Node, they're very slow moving. We're feeling this already, and it's strongest in June, July, and August this year, and September, I'm sure. So this is the time to take action and do things that we did not think was possible before. Okay. Do things that, were blocked, or speak out in ways that maybe were suppressed. Take action in ways that were impossible. So when we're talking about the feminine, this idea of where do women need more freedom? Where do women, need to be held sacred and respected in ways that they have not in these more modern times? Really massive breakthroughs are possible this year. And so I think that within each of us, every single one of us who's attending this event, clearly you care about these matters in the world, right? I think it is really important for each of us to hold the highest vision of what is possible for the feminine, okay, the feminine principle in our world. And that will mean a different thing for each of us. I might be focusing on, let us return our perception, our awareness of reality to how we honor the sacredness of life in 20,000 BC, and really, really like holding space for that kind of an opening to occur. Different, somebody else might be holding space for women in, countries where the wives are not treated well by husbands, right? For that dynamic to shift, to have some big shift, some big breakthrough. Right. So that can change. So I really invite everyone to tune in now to what is it that really stands out to you, that really tugs at your heart, that is near and dear to what you really care about. And we can even close our eyes together for a moment and just really, really focus in on what is most important to you, that where either the feminine needs to be restored in our world, or some major breakthrough, major new insights or new ways of living are needed. And just place your hands on your heart and hold the image, hold the feeling of that change really happening, that breakthrough really occurring. And it's very powerful to hold a vision in this way, especially when we feel it in our emotions, So see that change happening and see how people will be liberated and how people's lives will be different after that. And then feel the joy of that liberation in your heart. This is how we create change from the inside out. And the more and more of us that are doing this, just feel how powerful that is. We're gathered all around the world, anchoring these different places on the earth as we watch these interviews together. So just think about the force, the life force really that we're raising by doing a practice like that.
Yeah, I mean, you are speaking so beautifully to this opportunity to co-create our new future. And this convergence and the theory that we're using is around this idea of the 7 pillars. And it speaks to exactly what you're talking about, which is all of the pillars matter, but we can't focus on all of the pillars as one individual, but we can as a community. So we always say, just choose your pillar and then focus there, trusting that your sisters are addressing the other pillars. But when we come together, again, this convergence is just a beautiful example of that, because you're going to hear from women that are involved in every pillar. And when we do that, this vision just expands. So the timing is magnificent. And I love your invitation really to every woman. Every woman here matters. Everyone is here on the planet at this time with a unique purpose. And it's really time to step up and into that. No more playing small, no more excuses, no more anything. Just, we're going to go for it. And this is a perfect example, this convergence, which again, Jocelyn has done such an amazing job of guiding us through this. But we had a goal originally of reaching 100,000 people. And as we brought more and more women into the convergence and more organizations and said, this is our time. It's time to do this now. And as a result, we have had the ability to reach 500,000 people. It's absolutely, as you said, miraculous. The impossible is possible now. So highly encouraging all women to step into that. And I think, Jocelyn, you are going to lead us on a shamanic journey. And I think it's so perfect because you're guiding listeners to awaken the life force of creation within. So I think this is a perfect time to go there if you're ready.
Yeah, absolutely. I would love to. And I just so wholeheartedly agree with everything you said there, Liz, and the miracles that are coming through around this event. Oh, it's so powerful. And it just really speaks to how this shift, that we're talking about here is needed and wanted. And the universe is supporting this, right? It's like the earth forces, the cosmic forces are all in support of these changes to happen. So it's incredibly beautiful. Yes. Okay. Well, I invite everybody watching to just get really comfortable in your space. So if you want to lay down, this will be a meditation and a shamanic journey. And it's a time for us to really drop in deeply and connect with truth and connect with our hearts. So if you want to lay down, or if you want to be sitting with your spine straight, or even if you might want to be moving and just kind of let it be a flowing movement journey, that would be wonderful. So sense into whatever feels right for you. And go ahead and close your eyes and place one or both hands on your heart. And go ahead and take a deep, deep breath into your heart space. And as you're breathing in, know that you are breathing in the sunlight and the oxygen and all of these beautiful, miraculous elements that surround you. And then release that breath, breathing out, relaxing, letting go of anything that has been worrying your mind. Just let it go for a few minutes here as we drop in together. And you can continue this deeper pattern of breathing as you breathe into your heart. Breathe in the magic. And breathe out, releasing, relaxing. And really connect in with your heart. And you can feel in your hand the pulsing heartbeat within you. Our hearts are an absolute miracle. Our hearts begin beating when we are six weeks in our mother's womb. So just connect in with your beautiful, beautiful heart, which has been sending your life force coursing through every cell ever since that time, long before you were born, when you were a tiny, tiny little one in your mother's womb. Feel the power of this. Now, our hearts are really an incredible organ, because we know that not only do they help to circulate the blood in the body, but our hearts are also like a receiver of information. And this is something that you'll see written in almost every ancient and indigenous culture knowledge about the heart. Our hearts are connected to the wisdom and the higher intelligence of the earth and the cosmos. So if you ever don't know what to do, or you're trying to figure out the way forward, trying to solve a big problem, you can drop into your heart. You can ask your heart for the deepest truth to be revealed to you. So let's just do that now. So go ahead and take a deep breath into your heart. Let that breath release. And then ask your heart a question that's been weighing on you. Any question, whatever intuitively pops up for you, just ask your heart this question. And then get very still and silent and listen carefully to your heart. And really trust whatever answer you've just received there. And now we're going to go out on our journey here. So I invite you now, can keep your hands on your heart or not, whatever you prefer. And I invite you now to imagine yourself in a beautiful place in nature with your bare feet on the earth. And just stand there in this beautiful place in nature and feel the sun shining brightly on your face. Receive that light from the cosmos. And then feel the beautiful energy of the earth, the unconditional love of the earth from below, entering into the soles of your feet and then traveling up and filling every cell, filling you up with that unconditional love of the mother. And then I invite you to welcome in a guide to accompany you on this journey. And so call upon a guide and really trust whoever shows up. This may be an animal, power animal, it may be an angel or an ancestor. Really trust who shows up for you and welcome them. Give them a hug if you would like. And then allow your guide to fly you up into the sky. And your guide is going to take you back on a timeline to visit your far, far distant ancestors from perhaps 20,000 years ago. So allow your guide to just fly you way back in time and bring you to a place where you can observe and maybe even take part in the activities of your ancestors from a time before the great woundings occurred. And so I invite you to just open up and allow this experience to unfold for you for the next couple of minutes. Go ahead and engage with the community members that you see here in this time 20,000 years ago. Maybe talk to them if that feels right for you. See what they're doing. Notice their relationship with the earth and the plants and animals. And whatever you see, really be sure to hold it in your heart, to let it be stored in the memory of your heart. So I'll give you a couple minutes now just to experience this. And then I invite you to turn to one of the community members that you see here and ask them any question that you would like so that you can better understand their perception of reality and their perception of the feminine principle. So go ahead and ask them any question that you would like and listen carefully for the answer. And then this community member, after they answer your question, they're going to hand you a gift. So receive this gift. Hold it in your hand. Really notice any deeper meaning that it might hold for you. And thank this ancestor for the wisdom they have shared with you today. Thank them for the gift. And now it's time to travel back. So allow your guide once again to fly you up into the sky and bring you back to the beautiful place in nature where you started this journey. And as you land there in that beautiful place in nature, still holding this gift in your hand, really take a moment to study the gift and feel in your heart, what does this mean for you? And then when you feel ready, turn to your guide, thank them for coming here and being your guide on this journey today. And then say goodbye for now and watch them leave. And stand there for just another moment, holding your beautiful gift with your soles of your feet connecting to the earth, the sunlight shining on your face. And just send out gratitude to the universe, to the earth, to the cosmos, for all of these gifts of life itself. And then allow yourself to return your attention to your breathing. You may want to place your hands on your heart again and take a deep breath in into your heart center, integrating some of the magic and the wisdom of what has just occurred for you here. And then release that breath slowly. And when you feel ready, go ahead and open your eyes. And welcome back.
I didn't want to come back. I just wanted to kind of stay.
You can go back and stay.
I'll go back later.
For longer.
Yeah, that was beautiful. I won't share a lot about it. We won't take time, but what was really powerful was the message for me was about love. It was about, there was all sorts of things about what was going on, but that it was just this message of love was present, and it was present to everyone. And that's why there was peace and harmony and beauty and all that. It's all about love. And so anything that has been warped, shall I say, since then, is just because of a lack or a separation from the love, from the truth. So, Sheila, do you want to share anything before we move on?
Well, mine, I think you just described mine as well. It was all about honoring everything that each person brought. And it was even about humor. And there was so much giving. It was just this feeling of so much giving. Everyone was just giving what they had. And the gift was this incredible heart-shaped rock. It was sort of gray and, sort of slate looking, about the size of my hand, kind of large. And the message was that our hearts are our homes. The womb is the incubator, but the heart is the home. And it was really beautiful.
Beautiful.
Yeah, that was beautiful. Thank you so much for that beautiful journey. And it also, I believe, is such a beautiful practice for women to use as they are asking those questions. What's next for me? What am I meant to do? Where am I meant to serve? It's a beautiful way to find those answers.
Yes.
So.
And this kind of journeying is really enhanced if you listen to a drum beat as well. It helps you drop in really deeply to truth, I find. So that's another way to go even deeper.
Well, thank you so much for everything, Jocelyn, everything that you shared. It's been incredibly powerful and incredibly inspiring. And I know you have a free gift because there's more to experience. In fact, Jocelyn's website, everything she offers is amazing. So definitely encourage you to go there. But what free gift are you sharing today, Jocelyn?
Yes. So this free gift is a journey into the sacred art of Egypt and Crete. And so these are just powerful centers where the goddess was held and loved and held sacred, in the highest regard. So really powerful. What you saw on the slides today was like a little tiny tidbit of what is included in that larger presentation. So I hope you all will go and claim that free gift and really enjoy it and just immerse in the transmissions of those ancient images and all of the beautiful symbolism and the messages that come through from them.
I know that many across the planet are going to be taking that journey and not even having to leave home, especially in the time of COVID. Take your journey with Jocelyn. So Jocelyn, we are asking every one of our guests this question. And the question is, in these uncertain times now, what is it that gives you hope?
What gives me hope is I see people acting with such deep courage. And I will say, especially women, I really do. In my work, I see women coming forward with their voice, their message, their mission, their healing abilities, and their art, all of these gifts in a really bold and courageous way, like I have not seen in any other years leading up to this. And so I think we've been a bit shell-shocked since 2020 and reeling and kind of trying to figure out like, okay, how do we move forward from all of this? And I feel like this year, 2022, we are finally getting this like infusion of courage. And I believe the astrological transits are supporting us so strongly. So I really want to say to everybody out there, if you're feeling this push to do something new or different or claim your value, claim your gifts in a whole different way, now is the time. You are so supported and you are joining this worldwide movement of others, and you're meant to be part of communities that are doing these things. So you're not alone. Really, really, step outside of our comfort zones. It is time. The time is now. And I see this happening on so many levels. It's so beautiful.
It is. I couldn't agree more. And I think the other message that I hear is, every step that you take is encouragement for another woman to do the same. So, remember that it starts with you, but you are modeling for every woman and every girl on the planet. And that's what's so exciting. And so I know that listening here, you've been inspired. There is a week full of interviews for you to gain knowledge and insight and wisdom and inspiration. So please take advantage of that. All interviews are available for free for 48 hours. And then, of course, you can purchase lifetime access. So you can find that on our website at creatrixconvergence.com. And until we see you again, please go out and be the creatrix of your own life, and let's co-create a new future. Thank you so much, Jocelyn, for being with us. It has been magical.
Thank you so much, Liz and Sheila. It has been truly a pleasure to be with you today.
Much love.